This is Webcast One Live.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crabb, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to maxworldlive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 4 minutes after 3 o'clock on the 19th day of August in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and welcome to another edition of Max World with Tom Coates. We get together every Tuesday, and we talk some Iowa and sometimes national politics. And your voice is always what we want to hear in the mix. You can always give us a call. Toll-free, 1-855-244-0077. If you're local, just 244-0077. And you don't have to worry about disagreeing with us. We like bleeding heart liberals who disagree with us. And we just have two rules: no hate speech and no swearing. So if you follow those rules, we'd love to hear from you. My special guest today is Bob Eschliman.
That is correct.
That's one. That's one. When Bob was giving me the name a little bit ago, Tom was making fun of me because I don't pronounce people's names very well sometimes. But you see how I wrote it? I wrote it phonetically.
Phonetically.
That's what radio guys do. We write phonetically.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, anyway, Bob, it's nice to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. And we'll get to some of the Iowa stuff going around. But, right now the news ticker is talking about Ferguson.
Yeah.
And what's going on down there. And you had some updated figures that I haven't even heard.
And, of course, you can't watch the traditional media and necessarily get all the information.
Right. No, you can't.
Their narrative has been unwinding since they came out with it and said, here, this is an 18-year-old gentle giant, wouldn't hurt a fly, on his way skipping over to Grandma's house to get milk and cookies. As he contemplates the History 101 that he's going to be taking soon in college.
Right.
And as time has gone along, we've seen the video of him strong-arming the half his size quick shop attendant, grabbing him up and shaking him and pointing his finger at him. We've also now been found out slowly he was not begging for his life and on his knees with his hands up, but moreover had been assaulting the police officer. The police officer was treated for facial wounds. It looked like at one point he perhaps even got the gun away from him. The police officer finally had it back. First round was discharged, and then he apparently emptied the weapon in fear for his life because he was a rather small man of stature.
The police person. And this kid, the gentle giant, was about 6'4", or 200 and God knows how many pounds. And the police officer said it looked like he was on something. Well, now we find out that there was marijuana in his system. Right, THC.
From one of the, and of course, it all unfolds to the detriment of the people that, including this Obama administration. Now, I want to emphasize the Obama administration and Eric Holder have been involved in this thing from the get-go. They saw, just like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, an opportunity. The race baiters don't just stop with Jesse and Al. It extends on to the White House now.
Yeah.
How many FBI agents did they send to Benghazi after the murder of the 4 Americans?
None.
0. How many FBI agents did they dispatch onto the IRS scandal?
Oh, Mr. Coates, I know this.
Yes?
I know this. None.
That's exactly right. But they dispensed a small army down to Florida with the Trayvon Martin thing.
40.
And now they put maybe the same 40 FBI agents on the case in Ferguson.
Yeah.
And Eric Holder himself is going there tomorrow. To, in fact, they tried to suppress the video of the robbery of the convenience store. This is political opportunism. Now, many Americans, both white and black, voted for Barack Obama in '08 with the message that was put out there, elect me and we will have an end to racism in America. We will put all of this unfortunate history behind us, and America will elect its first, quote, black president. Whether he was fully black or half black is not an issue. That was the narrative. And the reverse has happened, Mac. I told one of my people today, I don't think we've had race tensions this high in America since the 60s.
Yeah. And actually, and Bob, if you know the answer to this, but I think in America, you are the race of your mother. And Barack Obama's mother was white.
Yeah.
But,
of course, if you want to, you can go online and Google nude pictures of his mother. Apparently, she was a young trollop that made the rounds with many different men, and it's still in question on who his real father was, whether it was Frank Davis or whether it was Barack Obama Sr.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of speculation about that. The point was the man had no pedigree. You know, we had Jonathan Narcissus in here a few weeks ago, and I tried every way I could to tell the audience what his resume was for applying for the job of being governor. To no avail, absolutely no avail. We should have looked at Barack Obama's resume and decided early on that he had no proper background. A community organizer, a man that did some stints in the Illinois Senate and less than a stint in the U.S. Senate. Other than his color and his articulation, he had nothing on his resume from a business or a leadership background that should have qualified him for the highest job. And we are now, we've sown the wind, we're reaping the whirlwind now with this guy on every level. Foreign policy, domestic race relationships, the scandals that I could go through with the VA and the IRS, and it's just, it goes on and on and on. And it's interesting how we've got such a short attention span, Mac. We were focused on the Israeli-Hamas fight and the Middle East conflagration over in Iraq, and now all of that's taken off the front page, and it supplanted the last area of scandal, and one after another. And the latest one, of course, we're talking about Ferguson. Now, next week or two, there'll be a new scandal that'll take Ferguson off the front page, but right now it's Ferguson.
All right, Tom Coates in the house, and Bob Eschliman is our guest. And Bob, before you even get to say a word, we're going to go to the phones and talk to Frank. Frank, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing today?
Good. Mac and Tom, you're both children of the 60s like myself, and you all remember Malcolm X. Well, the generations of black Americans have been conditioned to believe that there's a 2- and 3-, 4-tier justice system in this country, that the black man cannot get a fair shake, cannot get justice under the white man's Constitution, because according to the Constitution, they say the black man's like 3/4 of a man, 2/3 of a man, whatever. But they've been conditioned to believe this later on by Louis Farrakhan, that they need their own justice system, their own courts, their own police, their own hospitals, and then they can judge themselves, and then they will be truly equal. Okay, so if generations of people have been taught this, the battle is lost. There's no... In other words, when Al Sharpton comes in and he starts stirring the pot, there's murders all over this country, yearly and daily. Just what happened over the 4th of July in Chicago. Eric Holder and the Justice Department didn't show up at any of those murders. But Eric Holder is going to go down there, and Barack Obama is going to put their thumb on the scale of justice down in Ferguson, Missouri. Now, that's not equal protection under the law for all the other victims of homicide in this country. So I just see it that it's almost a no-win battle, because immediately, and it's not fair to the victim, it's not fair to the cop, it's not fair to the community, it's not fair to the family, when these people come in and the media comes in and starts judging guilt or innocence before one fact is found out.
All right, Frank, I appreciate your call, appreciate your 2 cents worth, as always.
Exactly right. I saw on the news today, Mac, that a young, clean-cut teenage boy was sitting in his car, and I don't remember what city it was. 3 young black hoodlums came up and gunned him down, murdered him in his car. I don't hear anything outrage in the press about that. I don't see the FBI being dispersed. I think Frank is exactly right. It's a very selective thing. And with this administration, go back a little ways. You remember when he talked about Gates, the professor that he knew, and how the cops had acted stupidly? He had to back that up and then have the so-called beer summit out in the backyard of the White House as he tried to smooth that over. And then the Trayvon Martin thing where he says if he had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Now we've got the latest thing that they weigh in on. And again, these are race baiters at the highest area of government in our nation.
Do you ever watch Al Sharpton's show? I think it's on at 4 o'clock on MSNBC.
I have missed Al's show. Can you enlighten me on what Al talks about on a regular basis?
It's just unbelievable. I mean, it is unbelievable how this man can just lie. I mean, just with a straight face. And he had a Missouri local legislator on there, the one that represents Ferguson, and I felt so bad for this young man because he didn't want to have any part of what Sharpton was trying to say.
I don't know why you'd agree to go on there. I did see the video years ago where he was under their surveillance video, a hidden camera, where he was negotiating to traffic in some high-level cocaine, some big dollar stuff, which is how they apparently got him into becoming a snitch. They had a name for him. The Fat Rat, I think, was the name. He was considerably heavier at that point, but the street name for him was the Fat Rat because they knew that he was in there, had turned under pressure and was ratting out some of the other drug connections that he had.
All right,
I mean,
Bob,
this guy's got a lot of credibility.
let's get to you.
Sure.
Now, the one thing that Tom failed to mention, and I'm sure you've seen it, Tom's not on Facebook, but there's been that video of, it sounds like two guys talking.
Yes.
And they're videotaping. They must have turned it on because the body's in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
It's not covered or anything yet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And these two are talking about what happened. And it totally, if I understand it correctly, it totally backs up what the police officer said.
That and they're now, according to the New York Times, which not exactly the most conservative publication in the United States, is now saying there are at least 12 eyewitnesses who can corroborate the police version of the story.
Yeah. So why do we continue to you're a journalist. You see things through the same eyes that I do. You're a lot younger than I am, but I've read your blog, and I was taught in journalism school, your opinion doesn't matter, Mac. You write the facts. And if you're a good writer, it'll read like a story, not a police blotter. How would you explain what's going on in Ferguson with this unbelievable civil unrest?
You know, there's the old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's kind of the position they're taking, is that you can't have any kind of one color against another color violent act happen, whether it's justified or not. Suddenly, it's some sort of major hate crime.
Yeah, yeah. And the destruction of the community. You know, one of the things that I heard talking about last night is here's what's going to happen. Business people, independent business people like us, I won't stick around in that community. I'll take my business elsewhere. And the ones that are left doing business will charge much more because it's hazardous to be there. And in the end, you have fewer jobs, fewer economic stimulus, and you have a worse town. I don't think that's good English.
Well, I think one thing that people need to keep in mind is that as a Christian, when you look at the Bible, it never talks about anyone in terms of their race. It may refer to someone by their nationality, but never by a race. That's because there's not a bunch of races. There's one race, the human race.
Yeah.
The people that want to talk about the color of someone's skin is only doing so for the purpose of dividing, for separating, and for somehow making one class of people better or worse than the other.
Yeah. Bob Eschliman is my guest today. He's an Iowa journalist. Tom Coates in the house on this Tuesday as we do Mac's World. We're going to continue to talk about Ferguson, also some of the other things going on politically, and some of the things right in our backyard. here in central Iowa. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. Right here on 99.3 KTIA Iowa, powered by Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
See them here, see them there. You got bad credit, we don't care. Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock on this 19th day of August in the Lord's year 2014. J. Michael McCoy here in Max World along with Tom Coates. And our special guest today is Bob Eschliman. And Bob, I just say you're an Iowa journalist. Give me a little background.
Sure. I born and raised in Iowa. Lived here almost my entire life. Got started in journalism in 1998 by accident, and have kind of hopped around the state ever since. I've spent time in Dallas County. I've spent time in eastern Iowa in Maquoketa. I've been up in northwest Iowa in Sheldon. After that, I spent some time in Lamar's. I did take a brief jaunt into the Lion's Den of Madison, Wisconsin for about 6 months, which is a story unto itself. Came back to Iowa after that and became a newspaper editor and served as the editor of several different papers, Rhinebeck and Gladbrook. Spent some time in Dallas County again with their newspapers. Also went down as a newspaper publisher down in southwest Iowa in Clarinda. And then wanted to be close to family again, and so we moved back to central Iowa to Newton, where I was the editor of the newspaper for a couple of years, and lost my job for some things that I wrote on my personal blog on my personal time, which the attorneys say we don't need to talk about right now.
Yeah, that case is currently going through the Iowa court systems, and so the worst thing we could do is make any comment on. But I'm glad you're here today.
Sure.
Anything more on the Ferguson thing? I mean, are we? I mean, I don't think anybody understands it. I think there's now video proof. There's all the proof in the world. Now it's just to sit back and what? Wait for him to chill out or calm down or what?
The police officer involved initially, his name was not released.
Right.
It was released a few days ago, and I understand that on Monday, some of the news media released not only his name, but his address and even a map on how to get to his house.
Yes.
This is the kind of responsible journalism that, Bob, you can appreciate, and I'm being very sarcastic when I say that, that we are being treated to. They had a narrative which they were coming in, a racist killer cop guns down this nice, innocent, gentle giant, and we were just supposed to sit back and be treated this. Well, as the narrative goes on, it unravels. But as they do, they even invite violence to the police officer. They say, oh, we don't want any violence, but the Black Panthers have come in from Oakland.
Yes.
Many of these violent instigators, and I mentioned Sharpton and Jackson as race baiters, and throw Holder and Obama in with that same bunch. But we've got the Black Panthers coming all the way from Oakland, California, because there's not enough mischief out there in California to keep them occupied. They're coming all the way to St. Louis, Missouri, so that they can institute further mischief if the locals didn't have enough time on their hands, because the unemployment in Ferguson is 2 to 3 times higher, I understand, than the unemployment in the country. Their poverty is greater. These people are in sad straits. They're going to be worse, as you pointed out earlier, Mac. There's nothing good. Once the media, gets their fill of them, and then they leave. And once it no longer becomes of interest to the Obama race baiters, they will leave, and the people will be nothing but further worse off than they are today. I think you mentioned it earlier, Bob.
Yeah, they come in with a mission of advancing an agenda, not to help the people that are there.
Right.
Once the agenda has been advanced, whether it's a few inches or a few yards or all the way down for a touchdown, it doesn't matter. Once they've made some sort of advancement, they're going to stop, they're going to leave, and it's like when the carnival leaves. It's a mess.
Yeah. It is an absolute mess. And the thing that I'm always reminded of is most of these people don't realize that they're living a very short existence on this earth, but they have eternity with their Lord. And they think this is the only chance they've got. And they're looking for their 15 minutes of fame. Mm-hmm. And this is the only chance they got. Why isn't... Now, it's Reverend Jackson and Reverend Sharpton.
Yes.
Right?
Advisedly, yes, I believe you're right.
Why aren't those boys preaching the gospel?
Well, they're in preaching their fundraisers, Mac. In fact, Jesse Jackson got booed for trying to make it into a fundraiser. They're going to the churches in some of the outlying areas and setting up. In fact, the Democratic Party set up a booth to do voter registration in Ferguson.
Right across the street from where Michael Brown's body lay dying.
Now, don't you think that if the Republicans were trying to make that kind of hay with an event, that the media would be pouncing on it? Yet you hear nothing about these kinds of things. How the Democratic Party of opportunists tries, how can you get a higher percentage of the black vote than they get right now? I think it almost seems, 80-90% of the blacks vote for Democrats. Almost like there's a few that stumble across and accidentally vote for Republican. They can't increase that much. But here they are trying to act like this is. I think what's going to happen is there's a good chance that they're going to overplay their hand. I think the American public is tired of the Gates, of the Trayvon Martin, and now this issue, and I think Obama and Holder will overplay their hand, and if anything, it will redound to their detriment come November. I think in November there's a good chance that the American public will have had enough, and they will come out in droves to vote for the opposition party. If we could put this guy in a position where the Republicans control not only the House, but the U.S. Senate, he could be held accountable. Holder could be impeached and removed at that point. And I think that should happen, too.
All right, let's move on to one of the big news stories that's happened here in the last couple days that not a lot of people are talking about, and that's the indictment of Rick Perry. Have you looked into this at all? Do you understand it at all?
You know, I've only seen what's out there in terms of the video, the photos. You know, it's pretty pathetic that, you know, Governor Perry, as governor of Texas, has a responsibility to not only obey and uphold the Constitution of the United States, but to obey and uphold the Constitution of the state of Texas. And when a public servant in the state of Texas has stepped so far out of bounds as this district attorney appears to have done so in the videos that I've seen.
I watched some of those videos also of her arrest.
You know, what did he do wrong? This is purely trumped up for political reasons. And like you said about Ferguson, I think they've overplayed their hand once again, and it's going to come back to bite them.
Travis County, in fact, I heard, I think it was former Congressman Tom DeLay talking. I think I've got the name right. He was a former congressman from down there. He said Travis County, which is the most liberal county in the state of Texas, they did it to him, they've done it to others, they're doing it now to Rick Perry. They answer to nobody but their own voter electorate, and they're very liberal, and so they hold up the liberal flag, such that it is, down in Texas, and I think you could argue that there are other national politicians. Now, I'm not a big fan of New Jersey Chris Christie, but I think he was tarnished in much part because of political expediency. I think that Perry and others are being, and will be before the 2016, anything they can find. And this thing with Perry, Mac, as far as I can see, even people like Dershowitz, who are liberal legal scholars, are saying this thing doesn't hold any water. I don't think that you're going to see anything other than a political circus, but it's been pointed out that going forward, he has been indicted. The indictment means probably very little. There's no expectation of a conviction, but they will say in their narrative going forward when he runs for president, formerly indicted Governor Rick Perry, and that obviously besmirches his character and any integrity that he has. An indicted former governor, oh my gosh, without ever... And the low-information voter, Bob, as you know, is not going to look into the details as you as a journalist look into for these kinds of things. And the woman he was trying to remove, I watched the video too. What a disgrace she was. Over 2 times the legal limit of alcohol in her system, threatening actions, making herself such a nuisance, they actually had to put her in restraints.
Yeah, if anyone was trying to abuse one's power, what she was saying to the cops is they were trying to put her into custody, book her, etc. That, to me, was more of an abuse of power than...
What was she saying? I haven't seen it or heard
you know,
it.
Basically, she's saying to these guys, look, you know, I'm a DA. If you continue to go down this road, I'm gonna make life miserable for you. You know, because I have the power to do so.
Right. Where's the sheriff? If he knew about my situation, he'd be here right now. Trying to pull that card on. The sheriff has been advised of your situation, ma'am, and well, he should be down here, and you let me out of here. This is ridiculous. And of course, they had her in these restraints, and she refused to leave office. And Perry finally vetoed her budget, which was his prerogative. And they're claiming that he overstepped his bound. Now, I see that Branstad in the paper today was asked about this question and was very much endorsing of Perry and said this is a very legitimate act, and he would hope to do similarly if he were in the same situation, didn't he?
Right. You know, the Iowa legal system works entirely differently than it does in Texas. The state doesn't hold the purse strings necessarily for county attorneys. That's something that the county boards of supervisors do in Iowa. But, you know, one would hope that if you had a lawless county attorney, that a board of supervisors would try to do something similar, or the voters would at least put some pressure on that county attorney to step down.
I think the cronyism in Travis County must be pretty extensive, though, and there is no accountability within. And that's why she expected to have the sheriff come down and let her out, because they were cronies, and one hand washed the other. And Perry said, no, I'm not going for it.
So we've just talked about Ferguson and we've talked about Rick Perry's situation. Let's move from 100 feet in the air to 500 feet in the air. What does this tell us, Bob, about today's political climate?
You can't get any more polarized. For years, I've complained about how we've gone from a I disagree with you to a I hate you mentality in politics, and that's really we've almost reached the pinnacle of that mentality, where it doesn't matter if I've got an R behind my name and you've got a D behind your name, I have to hate you because you have a D behind your name. I think Dr. Seuss wrote some books about stuff like that. About how many stars you have on your belly. It's that mentality though that's being not only created, but it's being pushed on the American people, especially as we like to say, the low information voter, those who don't take the time to educate themselves more fully about what's going on.
So I hate to ask this, but where is this slippery slope sliding to?
Absolute chaos. And I think that in part is why you're seeing a militarization of police forces across the United States, is because they fully anticipate that this end game will reach a moment of chaos where it's all going to fall apart.
Do you think we'll see violence around the national conventions like we did in the 60s?
Wouldn't surprise me.
I was kind of surprised we didn't last time. Bob Eschliman is my guest today. He's an Iowa journalist, and when we come back, we'll get a little closer to home here, and we'll talk a little bit about the Ernst and Braley race. And again, we didn't mean for this show to be, whack on the liberal media, but again, you don't hear about all the stuff Braley's doing or not doing out there. But we sure are hearing about what Joni, apparently what she didn't do. And also, we'll talk about some of the other races that are going on. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Phone lines open at 244-0077. You're welcome to call. It's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World, live on webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? You can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
All right, welcome back. 22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News at 4. And then after that, Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue. My guest today is Iowa journalist Bob Eschliman. And, of course, what a Tuesday would be without Tom Coates. So Tom's here. Slightly tanned, I see. You must not have hung around inside the varied industry building the whole time.
In and out, Mac, sampling the different food wares of the state fair.
What was your favorite this year?
Oh, you know, I've got certain things that I'm a guy with a sweet tooth, and I've got a certain few desserts that I like: the Bowders, peppermint bar, and the nitro ice cream underneath the bandstand, the grandstand. Those are two of my favorite ice cream stopping points. There are things that I sampled, put on a few pounds, haven't walked it off yet.
Yeah, right. Guys like you never put on. You gain a half a pound and you go, I'm fat! I didn't make it to the fair this year, and that was by choice. But I figured out all I was going to do was stop by and see you, go have a large gyro, go have a big old dill pickle from the country store. A little farther up, there is a place where the native Indians have an area, and they make homemade tacos and taco bread. And then I'd go see Drew County at the Bird's Nest, and then I'd get bored and go home. Yeah. And I'd pay $25 for the right to do all that between parking, so I didn't go. And maybe
it is, and the attendance was down a little bit this year, and the weather was as good as it's been in many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And so you have to cite the expense of the fair, I think, in large part for the decline in the attendance, because we couldn't ask for much better weather.
Oh no, weather was perfect.
Yeah,
weather is perfect.
I visited with our old friend Sam, who's running for the...
Sam Clovis?
Yeah. Saw him at the Republican booth, had a nice chat with Sam. He's just a heck of a guy. And that was a real find when the governor's office persuaded him to run for that position.
Now, if you walk up to the Democratic table, what do they do?
I've never done it, so I don't know. I've never had that experience.
I'd like to tape that next year and just see the reaction on all the Democrats behind the table as Tom starts to question them.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Yeah. And there weren't a lot of hecklers at the, what does the register call that?
The soapbox.
The soapbox. I didn't see a lot of hecklers or
they
hear
tried
about
to
a lot of
organize
hecklers.
against Joni. I think she kind of cut him off at the pass a little bit. She talked about her military service and honored the vets and the problems with the VA and some of those things. So it made it very difficult, I think, for them to heckle her.
Yeah.
But they were grossly outnumbered, I understand, from people that I've talked to right after that by the supporters. So they might have been in some danger if they'd gotten too vociferous anyway.
Now, she won the corn thing.
What was the margin on that?
Oh,
it was huge.
Yeah, it was like 58% to 43 or something like that. I mean, it wasn't close at all.
Well, if we could count on the corn poll, we'd be saying President Mitt Romney right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I've got to caution you guys that seems to be skewed a little bit for the conservative vote. I would guess that some of the Democrat stalwarts don't necessarily attend the fair quite as regularly as the more conservative members of our society.
All right, well, one of the big race, we have a congressional seat open from Tom Latham deciding to retire, and we had Tom in that very seat that you're sitting in, Bob, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but basically he said, I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of it. You know, it's not what I went to Congress for, and I'm not going to spend the end of my days, playing this stupid game. And obviously Senator Harkin is stepping down. They say it's his last steak fry. Why did they make it his last steak fry?
I don't know. I think he'll be traveling and enjoying his time out of the Senate. I don't think he wants to be tied down with a political event. I don't know why he couldn't continue it.
Yeah,
but he has made a fortune. You talk about cronyism and hypocrisy. When you walk into a seat like the U.S. Senate, with a very small net worth and you walk out with anywhere from $15 to $20 million net worth, you got to have a problem there. And again, if it were a Republican, my guess is the media might mention that a little bit. I think he's going to enjoy those ill-gotten funds. My buddy Tom will be out traveling and enjoying the 15 to 20 million while he has time.
Yeah, right. Your buddy. All right, so you've got the Ernst and Braley race to take that seat of Tom Harkins over. Bob, where do you see that race coming down?
I think it's going to come down to who gets their base out. I think you've all seen the commercial of the fat cat sitting in the conference room watching the video.
I really dislike that commercial.
Republicans are supposed to hate that video. Conservatives are supposed to hate that video. What that video is supposed to do is rile up the base. Has no intention of convincing someone to change their views or to think differently of Joni Ernst. It's only it's to chum the waters, to get a feeding frenzy going for the base. Likewise, you could say that a lot of Joni's commercials have been similarly suited to try to stoke the base, capitalizing on her military experience, capitalizing upon her background as a mother. Because
and Braley's absences, 79% they claim absences from the VA committee that he sits on, which, as I understand it, is valid. And in some cases, he was out fundraising. So yes, the attack ads are out there, and it does appear to be very close at this point. Braley has had enough gaffes, though, that he makes this a very competitive race where if he had not stuck his foot in his mouth as much as he has, Bob, I think we would see him with a decided lead. What's your feeling of that?
Yeah, I think he's had at least a couple of gaffes that hurt him with the independent voter. And I think at the end of the day, if there are a lot of independents that do go to the polls, I think those are gonna be in the back of their minds when they go to pull the lever, and it's gonna be about turnout. Mm-hmm. Can the Republicans push the turnout that they need? Because we know the Democrats will. They have for the last 3 election cycles in Iowa.
Yeah.
If this continues to unwind for Barack Obama, and there's no indication that he's hit bottom yet on his polls, every time we get a new poll out, he's hit a new low. Shouldn't this, in an off-year election where traditionally the Democrats don't turn out like the Republicans do, we have had some major advantages in these off-year elections. We retook the House under Bill Clinton after he stubbed his toe and Hillary tried to take over the health care system back then. We had a similar victory back in 10 in the middle. We should, by all accounts right now, unless something dramatic changes, we should have a referendum on Barack Obama. Now, you mentioned off air about you had a little experience with David Young's opponent, Stacey Apple. Do you want to briefly outline your experience with her, who, by the way, I will say, would not be in that position had she not stepped up as the sacrificial lamb against Tom Latham when everybody thought he would cruise to an easy re-election victory? Nobody else wanted to do it. And she fought like a cornered rat to keep that position, even though they knew it was an open seat and potentially winnable in a purple district. She's in that position. She's not a very strong candidate. What's been your experience with her?
Well, she is someone who is not afraid to use the power of her position to further an agenda. When I was the editor of the newspapers in Dallas County, her state Senate district kind of came up a little bit and touched a couple of the small townships in the corner of the county. And so she was pushing to do away with the public publishing of legal notices, the county board minutes, city council minutes, those sorts of things. She wanted those moved to websites where they could be easily manipulated. The newspaper industry as a whole in Iowa was staunchly opposed to it. We stood in lockstep with that position and went to the position of writing an editorial specifically addressed to then Senator Apple to say, hey, this is wrong. What you're doing is not right. And as a result, she came back to us and said, look, if you don't publicly apologize for this editorial, I'm going to ram this through. I'm going to get it passed immediately.
So threaten you, right, Bob?
Yes.
Nice lady. Yeah, she was my state senator for a while, too.
All right, we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, continue to talk about the congressional race and the senatorial race that we're facing here in Iowa. That's live here on Max World on 99.3 KTIA, Iowa. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Get away from my Sumito credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Metro Ford's on everywhere. Metro Ford's on everywhere. See 'em here, see 'em there. You got bad credit? We don't care. Metro Ford's on everywhere. Metro Ford's on everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com.
Metro Ford's on everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com today.
We're back at Max World on this 19th day of August, and we sure appreciate you spending time with us. You know, if you've ever got something curious that you'd like us to talk about on the political show on Tuesdays, for heaven's sakes, give me an email, drop me a Facebook line, text me, call me, go to my website at MacMcCoy, MacMcKoy.com, and all the information's there about how you can reach me. My cell phone is right here, and that number is published, 515-229-6292. I'd give you Tom's cell number, but he'd get mad, so I won't give him that.
Yes, he would.
But anyway, we're always interested in what you're thinking about.
Give him Jonathan Narcis' cell phone. He puts that out. Nobody wants to call him. Maybe somebody will call and visit with John in the middle of the night sometime.
I've got Jonathan's number. I probably have people's numbers that I shouldn't have. Ernst and Braley. One of the things that I don't understand is people that are Fruit Loops over animals being hurt. Now, I love animals. I've got 2 dogs. There was a video the other day on Facebook of some guy kicking like a ground squirrel off a mountain. Did you see that?
Yes.
And that turned my stomach.
Yeah.
I mean, that really turned my stomach. But I always come back and say, well, if you're this passionate about animals, my guess is you're pro-life. Oh, that's a different situation. Mr. Braley, I don't know why he allowed this to happen in an election year, decided he was going to beat on some neighbor's chickens, and they've made an issue out of it. And all the Democrats are saying, oh, come on, we don't need to bring neighborhood stuff into this. But it does go to his character about how well he plays with others, how well he works with others. What's the story behind that? Are you familiar with it?
Vaguely.
Lady's chickens got in his yard?
Yeah, and then he got a little violent toward them. And
yeah, well, he kicked one.
Yeah.
Yeah, kicked the chicken.
Well, then he called the homeowners association attorney up, threatened a suit, refused the dozen eggs that the neighbor tried to bring over to make amends with it. And she, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, was a registered Democrat. This is not some Republican out for Braley.
Yeah.
She wanted to make it right, and she was told, no, we don't want your eggs, and we're going to sue you. And it cost the homeowner association $1,700 in legal fees to try to fend off a threatening Bruce Braley. Now, I agree with you, Mac, in the overall course of things, this makes no more difference than him whining about no towel service during ostensibly the government shutdown last fall.
Yeah.
But the reality is these are windows into the character of the man, and it doesn't look very good. Every time we get a little window, this guy looks like damaged goods that we do not want to elevate from a congressman to a U.S. Senate seat.
Yeah, and I really think Ernst is the right person for the job. I mean, she is, as far as we can see, except for fake stuff that the Democrats make up, there isn't anything bad on her. I mean, has there been anything?
Well, and I met with her. I told you, Mac, for 90 minutes one evening. She wanted to meet with me early in the race, and I was impressed with her. Very pleasant woman. Seems intelligent and articulate. She's got some of the right stuff. Now, we're disappointed that she won't come on the show.
Yeah, she doesn't. She won't come on anybody's show.
Told me during the race that she would, but her handlers are afraid of exposing her to people like us, maybe Jan Michelson, that might introduce the gay marriage issue.
Right. She doesn't want to talk about that.
And I understand it's a hot button issue. I couldn't even. Jonathan Narson's got nothing to lose. He's going to get 3 votes, and those would be 2 people that lost their way and can't see when they fill out the ballot. And yet we couldn't get him on the line to say whether he would lead on the marriage amendment, which would allow the Iowa people to actually vote out the decision by activist judges. And so it's a hot button issue for a lot of people, but I think they are particularly sensitive about this for the Joni Ernst campaign.
I know you listen to this show religiously. Were you happen to be listening yesterday from 3 to 4?
I was not, sir. I was otherwise occupied.
You're stunned.
I'm stunned. I'm stunned. I can always count on Frank, and I can always count on Tom. Okay, so I had a gentleman who is the president and executive director of the Partnership for a Drug-Free Iowa.
Okay.
Listen to this. This is interesting. How does the national movement to legalize marijuana, how do they figure out where to go next? What state to go to next? Do you know the answer to this?
I have no idea.
First, they go to the states that have what? Casinos. Then they go to states who have approved what? Gay marriage. And that tells them that they've got, and then they go and find out, did Barack Obama win that state and with what percentage? And if all those 3 things are in line, then they move to get marijuana legalized because the society in the state is very liberal. Well, we have how many casinos? 22?
21.
21. More casinos per capita than anywhere else in the nation. We have gay marriage. Barack Obama won handedly here. And next will be the legalization of marijuana. We already have legalization of medical marijuana. And this guy told me something yesterday that I wasn't aware of. This oil that the legislature passed for these
cannabis.
For these kids that are sick, and I think that's great. I think they should.
Yeah.
Well, apparently these new e-cigarettes, you can put that oil in the e-cigarettes.
Yes.
Do you know about this?
Which, by the way, Mac, was the reason that this Gentle Giant was stealing those Swisher Sweets, $50 box of cigars.
Yeah.
It was really cheap Swisher Sweets. What they do is they open them up and put marijuana, they pull the tobacco out, and they put the marijuana in there. And again, he had marijuana in his system. And so it comes right back around to this idea. And by the way, did you get that independent study that I sent over that showed the brain changing in even the casual marijuana uses, and it greatly increases the odds of schizophrenia in these even casual marijuana users. So I know it's not the world's worst thing, but why would we want to greatly expand the use of something that changes the size and the shape and the disproportionate percentage of those people to become schizophrenic? I don't understand that.
I understand, and someday you and I can have a debate on that on the air, because I sit somewhere in the middle. But if this oil can be used in those e-cigarettes, all you've got to do is get a prescription for that oil, And now you can be smoking. Now, tell me if this is right, Bob. Smoking marijuana with no scent of smoking marijuana in public.
There would
Is
probably
that right? Because I was told that you couldn't get high on this oil. It wasn't in a sufficient form that you could use it to get high. Am I wrong on that?
That I'm not entirely sure.
That's what they
but,
said. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's what they told us.
It's used in a nebulizer. A nebulizer works very similar in
Yeah.
mechanics to an e-cigarette, and so yeah, you could smoke it. Whether you get
Whether you
high
get
on
high,
it,
then that's
I
the issue.
don't know.
And I guess none of us know that.
All right. Well, Bob, thank you very much for coming in today. You're a courageous man.
Thank you.
Thank you for standing for what you believe in.
Thank you.
And you're welcome on this program anytime, as long as you bring your pretty wife and kids with you like you did today.
Will do.
Got to do that. All right. Tom, you take care. I'll see you in a week. Ryan, thanks for producing. And as always, I ask you to do something for me at the end of the show. I want you to think about somebody who needs your forgiveness. Somebody who you've hurt with words or with anything else, and pray about it tonight, and then go forgive them, and you'll find that you'll also be forgiving yourself. Have a great day.